I love Pokemon. I mean, who doesn't? Oh, well, a lot of people. Nevertheless, despite its flaws, it's my favorite video game series of all time. The games, the cards, and the anime mean so much to me. Pokemon is the series that, for the most part, got me into gaming, and it's definitely what got me into anime. For better or for worse. Now with that short introduction, let's get to why I love Pokemon. I had a lot of years of exposure to Pokemon, but it was my own exploration that got me into the series. I was 5 years old. I was at my grandma's house, and well, was to say the least, a bit curious what was on the table. It was a pack of cards, and there was one card that stood out to me. It was a card of an orange dragon. I thought he was really cool. I put him down, and the hyper kid I was, ran back to my house, and then on TV there was an episode, a particular episode of Pokemon that had Charmeleon evolving into Charizard. I know this seems fake to a lot of you, but I swear to God, it's the truth. Boomerang liked to do marathons of the old episodes, and so me, a super hyper kid, I actually sat down and finished that episode, and well, all the other episodes afterwards as well. I'm unsure to when, but after this, my cousin showed me Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, and Pokemon Gold. I didn't really like Gold for some reason, but Yellow really spoke out to me. I found out that you could get Charmander and their starters, so I was super excited, and at the time, I didn't know who Red was. I thought it was just Ash, just being honest. But anyway, being Ash was super exciting to me. And again, I had watched every single episode that I could of the Pokemon, particularly of the original series. But at one point, when I found out about the other Pokemon series, I had watched them as well. The thing is, was that the first generation games, well, they were hard, right? At least for a kid, they definitely can be. You know, it took me forever to get past Brock and Misty, but I eventually did. But God, it frustrated me so much, especially Brock. And like I remember, I had to go on forums and look how to beat him. And for some reason, although I think there's easier way, but I was told a lot to get a Butterfree, so I had to level up Caterpie all the way to Butterfree and use Sleep Powder and manually tackle the goddamn Geodude and Onix. It was awful. But anyway, sadly, I never beat it as a kid. But nevertheless, I did around probably 2011, 2012, something like that. I had gotten Pokemon Black and Pokemon White 2 for Christmas. And holy crap, that was like, that might have been peak of my life. not really, but man, I was excited as all crap, to say the least. Got that. Okay. So, we're gonna go a little adventure together. Starting in the Unova region. Okay? And yes, this is where I explain why I think the Pokemon series is the best video game series of all time. Maybe I'm a little dramatic, but just hear me out. Just hear me out. Anyways, you start out off a game. You do the basics. You name your character, and Generation 2, specifically with Crystal and onwards, you could use your gender. And so I had to do all that, you know, and you have to listen to the professor of the region yap to you the whole entire time. And Generation 5 is Professor Jennifer. And, you know, you get to choose a Generation 5, one of these three very adorable Pokemon. Snivy, Oshawott, and Tipig. They're cute little guys, aren't they? Right? Am I the only one that thinks so? Well, anyway, this one decision is important as it affects the rest of the game. Depending on the little guy you choose, they'll be super strong against one gym, but super weak against another. The reason Pokemon Yellow is so hard at first because Pikachu is an electric type, fighting against Brock's rock type, and he can't just hit a sprinkler like Ash did in the anime. If your Pokemon is weak against the gym, you have two options. You could overlevel your Pokemon, but that can take a very long time. But in the newer gens, it's not as hard. Let's be real here, right? But anyway, the other option is obviously to catch more Pokemon. It could be one, it could be 5 other little guys. Either way, what you choose, you have tons of possibilities. In one reality, you could have chose Oshawott instead of Snivy, and then caught a Purrine instead of a Lillipup. Heck, you don't even have to use your starter, so really at the start you have 4 options. Yeah, throw that stupid starter. We all obviously want to use Lillipup as our starter Pokemon. Or Patrat, actually, Patrat's the better option, right? Screw them starters, alright? Anyway, hey, you don't even have to... So, Elijah, why are you making such a emphasis on possibility? Well, I think that makes Pokemon unique. I'm not saying other games don't have as wealth of possibilities as Pokemon does. I'm sure they are, but the thing about Pokemon is it's very easy to catch them with Pokemon. We're gonna hear in a second. And anyway, but more importantly, why I give so much importance on possibilities is because of how much replayability it gives you, and I think that's a massive W when it comes to picking a video game to play. I mean, it's like, if you're a parent trying to buy your kid a game for Christmas, and then, let's say it's Kirby Star Allies, and the kid beats it that evening. I mean, that's just lame, right? Pokemon, the kid can keep on replaying and replaying, and technically may never get bored. Can, but probably not. And with RPGs, unless there are choices, or maybe you miss some content like side quests, I mean, it's very linear in a sense, right? While Pokemon, yes, the games are literally, like most of them are linear games, but the replayability and all the options that you can have makes it unique each playthrough, which we'll get here into a minute. The Pokemon themselves also make me happy, I just want to say that. And 2, like, just cute things make me happy. Am I weird? Probably. Either way. And there's plenty of cute Pokemon. There's also a lot of cool Pokemon, and just generally, just interesting designs, right? Collecting them gives me so much joy, and honestly, it's kind of addicting. The Pokemon is such a good incentive to explore the regions, and in the 3D games, it can make your experience even more immersive. Take Scarlet and Violet, you can actually see some Pokemon being in a ecosystem, or Pokemon sleeping or hanging off of a tree, stuff like that. I know that's basic, but it really makes you feel like you're living in the Pokemon world. And going in blind can make your experience even more enjoyable. The exploration really makes the game series stick in a lot of people's hearts. I mean, I'll say some games do exploration better, but the games have hidden rare Pokemon. I'll say some games do have better exploration, but the thing about Pokemon is every game will always have a hidden rare Pokemon you can only find by exploring, even in some of the early routes, like in Sword and Shield. I know this isn't like the coolest Pokemon ever, but on a certain patch of grass, the more you keep looking, the more eventually you are going to finally find a Caterpie, and you can get a Butterfree. I know, again, that's kind of lame, but most of the Pokemon in those routes are your typical Galar Pokemon. In Generation 3, in one of the early routes, before Little Root Town, is that what it's called? I might have got the name wrong. But either way, before you meet your dad, well, actually, I guess after, technically, you help Wally, which is a character in Generation 3, catch a waltz. And you think, oh man, well maybe it's just him that gets the waltz. No, as long as you keep on looking in that patch of grass, you could find a waltz. I just love that about Pokemon games, personally. Now this is subjective, but the music is amazing. Okay, it's crazy how they make such good music on these tiny little handhelds like the Game Boy Advance, and the DS. And sure, by the time the 3DS it's not as impressive, but still, but they make bangers continue today. Just take a listen. Okay, now the final piece of the puzzle is the lore. I love the lore of Pokemon. Like, you telling me the Generation 5 gym leaders get crucified? What? Excuse me? I don't know. Personally, I think it's insane. Anyway, and even in saying stuff like that aside, I just love how Game Freak has various serious themes and kids games, quote unquote, obviously. Generation 3 whole theme was about the environment, based on a real life situation in Japan. Humans need more land to sustain themselves, but at the cost of destroying the ecosystems in the ocean. I'd highly recommend Tomohiro's video about Generation 3. It really goes deep onto this topic. And some other stuff that you see in Pokemon is literally, you see Pokemon abuse, nukes, a crime boss, and the questioning of Pokemon are slaves by being in Pokeballs. Yeah, in my opinion, there's a lot of cool stuff in these games. There's even Pokemon Cough Cough Driftwood, I think that's what it's called. Okay, I'm not always the best with names, leave me alone. Anyways, they literally kidnap children. Anyway, that is it. But I want to say a final note. If none of this has convinced you to try out, play a Pokemon game, I guess the thing that is most important that I did not mention thus far is the childlike curiosity that the games give. And even though that the game developers may get rushed, there are a lot of love that goes into these games. Even though Game Freak does get a lot of hate, and I think justifiably. But these games, they do truly mean so much to me, guys. As an example, my early childhood, I didn't have my parents at a time because of my mom's back surgery, something like that. Anyways, she was in the hospital, and one of the only things I really had was Pokemon. And I had some family members who would interact with me a little bit, but when it came to when my grandpa died, on the other hand, not a lot of people was interacting with me. I'm talking about even before he officially had died, but he was in the hospital, right, for I think a couple weeks before he had died, or something like that. And the thing that I had to keep me occupied, while the adults, were adulting, if you want to say, was Pokemon, such as Pokemon Conquests or Generation 5. And even at school, I was bullied, but the one thing that I had to look forward to was playing Pokemon. As pathetic or sad as that may sound, that's truly how my life was at one point when I was a kid. But so I'll always love it. I don't like the bugs, I don't like the glitches, I don't like the low performance in the newer games, but I do love Pokemon as a brand. It's crazy that the Game Freak has such hold on me. But anyways, thank you guys for listening to me and ramble about Pokemon for 15 minutes around that. So Anyways, thank you guys. Bye bye.